I do want to talk about Ron Paul. So Ron Paul's
Okay.
so he's 88, right?
Is he 88 already?
88 years old. He was the reason why I was one of the reasons why I was red pilled. I remember watching him on the debate stage with like Rudy Giuliani and all these people. I forgot who else was there at the time.
Was that in 09 or before then?
Yeah, I was around
Yeah.
that time. Maybe even prior to '08. Something, maybe it was in '08. Yeah, where I first discovered him. And I was like, holy cow, I can't believe this guy's talking so much sense. Prior to that, I thought it was only the Democrats that I could vote for because, I didn't want more perpetual war under George W. Bush, right?
Yeah.
And then I hear Ron Paul and he's just talking sense, man. He's just talking American policies like, following the Constitution, more freedom, more liberty. And it's like, wow. It was like I've never heard anything like that before. It was a breath of fresh air. So that led me down, the rabbit hole, the libertarian rabbit hole. And that's where, a lot of now, I guess my philosophical foundation comes from was from that time. And the other thing about Ron Paul is like, he's been so consistent, very principled throughout his whole career as a congressman. And it wasn't until like that '08 run and the 2012 run that he gained traction. His message gained traction. It took like I don't know how many years, 30 years, right? He didn't like become popular until his 60s. His message didn't resonate till he was like 60 years old. So it just for me, it's like one of those things where it's like, keep on fighting the good fight because you never know when your time, to step up and be a leader comes, even in your 60s, like Ron Paul, and still going to this day. God bless him.
Well, you could say the same thing about Bernie Sanders
Yeah, but
on the other side of things. He's been consistent,
yeah, a consistent socialist and communist, consistently wrong for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, he's stuck with his message, and he kind of became a leader figure in the 2016 elections.
I just don't see him. He's not principled, but it's also because he comes from a philosophical thought, a philosophical, school of thought that isn't principled, right? It's like communism.
Dude, I saw a tweet about Karl Marx's like personal life recently.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy, actually.
He's a dirtbag, bro.
He was a scumbag, like drunk. Yeah, always expected everyone else to take care of him. Like
Didn't take care of his family, right?
yeah.
I can't remember if his kids committed suicide, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, he was a horrible father, horrible human being, and then he unleashed this plague on the world. It's like probably a spawn of Satan, If we're looking at it from a spiritual level, I definitely believe that he could have been possessed by demons for sure.
Well, and you just think about like, was it the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia that was the Communist Revolution? Is
I
that
don't
the
know.
one? But like, to think that that kind of philosophy caused so much death and strife and turmoil just from some dude who had an alcohol problem and was a scumbag. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Like, the power of one person.
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So if one person can like unleash this much evil in the world, can one person unleash goodness in the world? I don't know. Or is that something that, has to come about from each individual finding their power within, the slice of the divine within them and creating goodness in this world?
I feel like the bad news stories we hear about, and the good ones we don't hear as much about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's like an equal capacity for potential there.
Yeah. I do want to go back to Ron Paul because he does talk about Bitcoin. I don't know if it was in that clip. Maybe it was at the beginning of that clip. But basically, he says that, Bitcoin, in order to satisfy its role as money, needs to become a unit account, right? And right now, everybody still uses the dollar as a unit account. So he's like, Bitcoin hasn't gotten there yet. But it's gonna take time. And in order for that to happen, though, people need to embrace freedom, right? Like, and I'm guessing what he's saying there is like, free market competition. It also like the idea that the Federal Reserve controls interest rate is where it all starts, right? It's where all the control starts. There's not a market for money right now. And so, it was an interesting argument from my perspective, hearing Ron Paul talk about it because he's so well versed in, monetary theory.
Yeah, he started the whole end the Fed, right? That whole movement, that saying came from him, right? End the Fed.
Well, it goes back to what Dave Smith was saying with me. Like when I found out how money works, I was dude, I was pissed. Like I was like, holy cow. Like I realized we're all just slaves. Like they're just milking us through the money supply. It's a different mechanism, but we're all just slaves. And I felt like, you know, my dignity as a human being was like attacked.
Mm.
Once I found out how money works, I'm like, holy cow. And I figured that, you know, I took this message that Ron Paul was preaching. I started preaching it to people I know. And to, you know, I thought once they found out, they'd be like, what? Are you kidding me? You know, let's change this. Let's get on board. Let's vote for Ron Paul. Let's like end the Fed. You were like, what are you talking about? Why, you know, like nobody cared.
Yeah, my life is good. I got my TV and my takeout